Hello and welcome to the Luv Doc podcast with hosts Waldo Wachewski and Ophelia Bruschi.
Today, we're getting into a really interesting situation.
Right. It's based on a response from a Luv Doc about the complicated relationship.
Exactly. It's this 4-year friends with benefits thing that seems to have hit a wall or maybe a turning point.
Yeah, and looking through the column, it's quite revealing about these kinds of dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
So our plan today is to really unpack it, all the setup, what changed, the advice given.
And hopefully pull out some insights about commitment, relationships, things that might resonate with everyone listening.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's start with how things were. The listener described it as a 4-year friends with benefits deal. They work in the same place, same organization.
4 years that's a significant amount of time for that kind of arrangement, isn't it?
It really is. And what struck me right away was the listener admitting the woman wanted something more serious, like from the beginning.
Ah, okay. So that imbalance was there from the get-go.
Yeah. And the listener, he chalked up his own hesitation about commitment to his parents getting divorced when he was 13.
That makes sense. We see that a lot, how early experiences can, echo in adult relationships. It often creates a sort of unconscious barrier.
Definitely. He also said something like, he probably hasn't treated her as good as I should have.
Yeah.
And that he deliberately tried to keep her from getting too attached.
Wow. Okay, so there's some self-awareness there. At least looking back, that admission is pretty important.
It feels important. And their interactions. It wasn't just hooking up. He said they'd hang out a few times a week, dinners, watch movies or shows.
See, that sounds more involved than your typical purely casual FWB thing. It suggests, a real connection was forming, even if he was maybe resisting labeling it.
Right. So you have this long-term setup, looks casual on the surface, but she wants more. He's hesitant, but they're quite involved.
Yeah.
Okay, so what actually kicked things off? What was the catalyst for change?
Well, according to the listener's letter to the Luv Doc, about a month before he wrote in, a new person started working in her office.
Okay, new colleague.
Yep. And apparently she started spending a significant amount of time with this new guy.
That's often a test for these less defined relationships, isn't it? When someone new enters the picture.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really interesting. She actually asked the listener directly if he was upset about her spending time with the new colleague.
Okay, confronting it head on.
And what did he say? He said he was cool with it.
Cool with it. Okay. On the surface, maybe that's the right answer for friends with benefits. Keep it casual.
Maybe. But given what happened next, clearly not the whole story for him deep down, that question she asked, that feels like a major moment.
Yeah, like a test.
Could be. Or just, checking in. Seeing if maybe, after 4 years, his feelings had shifted at all, especially since she always wanted more.
And his cool with it response, it probably signaled, nope, nothing's changed here.
That's likely how she took it, yeah. Like confirmation that his level of investment wasn't going to increase. Which, might have given her the green light to really explore things with the new guy.
Makes sense. Which brings us then to the actual breakup.
Right. She was the one who ended it. Ended their... Well, as the listener put it, whatever it is we are doing.
Yeah, that phrasing says a lot.
It does. And she told him she was now serious with the new colleague.
Ouch. Okay. And then
she added that she wanted them to remain really good friends.
The classic let's be friends.
Yeah.
That's always tough, especially when feelings aren't, symmetrical.
Especially here. And it was only after she ended it, that the listener wrote to the Luv Doc saying he suddenly realized he'd become really attached.
Oh, wow. So the realization came after it was over.
Pretty much. And he started wondering if it was too late. Could he tell her he wanted a real relationship now? Could he win her back?
That delay between her actions and his realization, that's kind of the crux of it, isn't it?
It really seems to be.
Holy crap. You're psychotically obsessed with the Luv Doc, but can't think of a flashy gauche way to share your obsession with the world? Stop thinking and make a beeline for the Luv Doc's home sweet home on the interwebs, thepleasurecraft.com, where you can find a veritable treasure trove of sick merch that will make even your coolest friends super gel. Honestly, I don't know why you didn't already think of this yourself, but you're welcome. Have fun on the Pleasure Craft. It was made just for you. Let me spell it out for you one more time. www.thepleasurecraft.com.
Okay, so let's dive into how the Luv Doc analyzed this. They pinpointed that moment when she asked if he was upset about the new guy as the key turning point, the Venn diagram of where things went wrong. as they put it.
Yeah, I liked that phrasing. And the advice wasn't even that he needed to declare undying love right then, just something more than cool.
What did they suggest?
They said maybe a shred of curiosity would have been better, just showing some genuine interest in her life, what was happening.
Instead of just flat dismissal, almost.
Exactly. That cool might have sounded like indifference. Even if that wasn't the full intention, it lacked any kind of investment.
Right. And then the Luv Doc goes into this slightly funny comparison, asking if the new guy is more James Marsden or James Spader.
Yeah, that was memorable. Specifically contrasting like peak charming James Marsden, Prince Edward, and Enchanted. Apparently he's got this McConaughey impression. There are rumors.
Okay, maybe not the impression part.
Right. Versus James Spader, but not cool young James Spader from, say, Pretty in Pink or 16 Candles with the awesome red Porsche.
Steph McKee, legend.
Right. But the Luv Doc meant post-Robert California Spader. The implication being, maybe someone who seems less put together or less like traditional relationship material.
So the Marsden type being the seemingly dependable romantic choice, and the Spader reference maybe implying someone less stable, or perhaps just someone who let themselves go a bit. It's a funny way to frame perceived desirability.
It is. It's basically suggesting she probably moved towards someone who just seemed more available and interested than our listener had been for 4 years. The Porsche is just, shorthand for a certain kind of maybe unreliable youthful charm he wasn't offering anymore.
Gotcha. And after that comparison, the Luv Doc just lays it out there, super blunt. You dropped the ball.
And then corrects it. Scratch that. You didn't just drop the ball. You fumbled in your own end zone and it cost you the game.
Oof. No mincing words. But it really drives the point home, doesn't it? Sometimes doing nothing is the action that decides things.
Absolutely. That football analogy, it really paints a picture of a critical mistake, a missed chance to change the game's direction.
So moving on to the actual advice for the listener now.
Yeah.
The Luv Doc strongly advises against trying to fight to win her back.
Why? Because, the doc says, the only person he'd really be fighting is himself. His past actions, his inaction.
That shifts the focus, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not about changing her mind now. It's about understanding his own role and how things ended up.
Exactly. It puts the responsibility back on him, saying this outcome is pretty much a direct result of the dynamic he maintained.
And then they hit him with that question. If you were her, who would you choose?
Yeah. The wishy-washy 4-year connection or someone seemingly interested.
That's a tough one to answer, honestly, I bet. But it forces that perspective shift.
Definitely. Makes you think about how ambiguity and, being wishy-washy actually feels from the other side, especially over 4 years.
The Luv Doc also made a point that, unlike some confusing breakups, it's actually pretty clear what went wrong here, which might be cold comfort, but it's something.
Right. It's not a mystery. And they framed the whole thing not as a disaster, but as potentially a blessing.
A blessing. How so?
As a chance to learn, an opportunity to finally address the commitment issues, maybe stemming from the parents' divorce he mentioned, that might be, self-sabotaging his relationships.
That's a constructive way to look at it. Turning pain into potential growth.
Exactly. Which leads into the concrete recommendations for self-improvement.
Right. Like, consider therapy to really dig into that family history and its impact.
Yeah, and also to just reflect. What does he actually want in a relationship? Does he even want one right now?
Or, as the doc puts it, maybe he's someone who's ultimately happiest flying solo.
Which is a valid point too, isn't it? Challenges the idea that everyone must be paired up. Maybe deep down he prefers independence.
It's a possibility worth considering for him. True self-reflection.
For sure. And the Luv Doc basically tells him to get cracking on figuring this stuff out.
Yeah, to avoid learning the same hard lesson again down the road.
And then that final little nudge. You might want to spruce up that Tinder profile.
A bit of humor, but also okay, time to look forward eventually.
Right. It keeps it from being too heavy, acknowledges life goes on.
So, thinking about this whole story, this deep dive, some big things stand out, like how vital it is to recognize those moments, those questions, those shifts in a relationship.
Yeah, those potential turning points and the real impact of, not being clear or avoiding commitment when maybe feelings are actually deeper than you admit.
But also, as painful as this was for the listener, it really does seem like a chance for some major self-discovery. A tough lesson, but maybe a valuable one.
Absolutely. And for everyone listening, maybe think about your own relationships. Have you been in a similar spot? Unsure, hesitant to speak up?
Or maybe you've looked back and seen a moment where things could have gone differently if you'd said or done something else.
It happens. It's worth considering how we communicate or don't communicate what we really want.
And maybe a final thought to chew on. Building on this, beyond just FWB situations, think about all our relationships, romantic, friends, even work. What are the subtle ways we signal commitment or maybe a lack of it?
Like the small things we do or don't do, say or don't say. What messages are those sending, maybe without us even realizing it?
And what impact could those unintentional signals be having? Definitely something to think about.
To read the column that spawned this podcast, go to austinchronicle.com/columns/the Luv Doc. There are probably worse things to do with your time, right?